Welcome to another edition of Is It True? Your weekly TV journal looking into the intrigue of fact or fiction. This week's programme is part one of a two-part series called The Two Faces of William. Our investigations take us to Stratford-upon-Avon and the literary world of William Shakespeare. This Warwickshire town with its pleasant riverside is one of England's leading tourist attractions. Our man at Stratford, Victor Patterson, takes up the story.
What, we ask, would Stratford-upon-Avon be without William Shakespeare? Over the centuries, many people have challenged whether Shakespeare really wrote all those famous plays and sonnets, or was it someone else? Fortunately for Stratford, none of these allegations has ever been substantiated. However, there is now a new challenge, this time based on hard facts regarding the life he lived here. This book, The Two Faces of William by George Daniels, raises so many controversial issues we had to come to the town to find out, is it true? George Daniels is a prolific writer who questions accepted issues. His skills for soliciting facts from obscure origins are legendary. During the time that George spent here researching his latest book, he came across this lovely cottage. He bought it and now considers himself to be an enlightened Stratfordian.
Yeah, I suppose my book has raised a few eyebrows amongst the locals, and the tourist office reckons I've done her no favours. But as far as I'm concerned, I have stated the facts about Willie Shakespeare. And if the locals don't like it, I suppose it's because it's going to hit their pockets. I know I'll upset Professor Westall. He's supposed to be a world-renowned authority on William Shakespeare. In my view, when it comes to presenting the facts, he's way up the swamp. Or should I say, the Avon. Look, I'll show you some clips from a video that he made for the tourist office. You can judge for yourself.
This lovely half-timbered house here in Henley Street is the birthplace of William Shakespeare. He was born in an upstairs room on the 23rd of April 1564.
Well, Professor Know-it-all, that's your version. And as it brings in the visitors, no doubt the tourist board are only too happy to agree. Originally there was two houses here, and Willie's dad, who got 8 drawers on the oldie-worldy football pools, got whims to put a bit in the middle and join the two together. Baby William might have been born in this house, or he might not. There's no records. Whilst we know he was baptised on the 26th of April, under the name of Gulimus Shakespeare, I wonder if they call him Goolie. But no one has found a greetings card or anything else to substantiate that the 23rd of April was his birthday. Mind you, that doesn't stop the local bigwigs having the annual birthday procession. Still, if that's what they want, let them. Personally, I reckon they're just a lot of silly burgers. Come on, left, right, left, right, left, right, pick it up. Come on, the telly. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's see what Westall's doing on the video.
At the age of 5, William began his education at this grammar school. And by the time he was 7, he could read and write, had mastered Latin, received weekly drama lessons, and thereafter took part in the school's annual play. In his early teens, he studied logic, poetry, and history.
Oh, Professor, you forgot to mention the 15A levels that you're supposed to have got by the time he was 10. Come off it. It's all a myth. There are no records whatsoever to prove that he was a clever dick. For what it's worth, in later years one of his contemporary playwrights, Ben Jonson, said Shakespeare had but little Latin and less Greek. Both a double Dutch to me.
At the age of 18, William married Anne Hathaway, who was raised in this cottage at nearby Shottery. William was a devoted husband who, at the age of 23, had fathered 3 children, including twins.
Sure, he married Anne at the age of 18. But was she the light of his life? Hardly. He was engaged to someone else, until Anne broke the news that Willie had pushed his luck too far. She was in the pudding club, you know. If ever there was a shotgun wedding, this was it. Ask yourself this. If Willie was really smitten, how come that not one of his 154 known love sonnets or any surviving documents contain any reference to his affection for Anne? Why did he spend so much time away from her in London? Could the fact be she wasn't really a page 3 girl have anything to do with it? To give Willie his due, he was considerate in his last will and testament. He left her the second best bed. Nothing else. I'll bet that took the smile off her face. Talk about happy faces. Let's have another look at Westall.
William, of course, became a famous writer of plays. His work frequently took him to London, where his fame spread rapidly. He formed his own company, which King James I was later to name the King's Men. This was the highest of royal accolades. Shakespeare mixed freely with nobility and commoners alike. He was a man of integrity with a character beyond reproach. No wonder he was loved by all and had no enemies.
Okay, Willie did become famous, but not until after his death. As far as this lot here in Stratford were concerned, they just didn't know that the man whose plays now regularly grace the ugly-looking Royal Shakespeare Theatre was indeed their William. You see, in London, he was busy with his word processor, as well as treading the boards. He impressed the establishment with his excellent writing abilities. But, back in Stratford, nothing of this was known whatsoever. As far as they were concerned, he was a decent man. He dabbled in property and flogged grain. So it would seem he was leading a double life. But why? If he was known as a decent man in Stratford, why is it that in London he was chased by the tax people for non-payment of VAT, poll tax or whatever? He even came before the beak for threatening the life of a bloke called Willie Waite. Also, he mixed with some very unsavoury characters, amongst whom was a seditious group of atheists called the School of the Night. The leader was Sir Walter Raleigh. Yes, old Walt, you know, with the Backy and Spuds fame. Well, anyway, it was a very dodgy situation for William, as atheism was a capital offence in those days. But there is strong evidence that this double life nonsense was all part of a big plot. Now, not a lot of people know this, but our Willie belonged to His Majesty's Secret Service, known as the Medieval Intelligence. Rumour has it, it's still known by that name today. Willie's spying activities may well have led to Raleigh being in prison for 13 years. The charge? Involvement in a plot to kill King James. I guess Jim really fixed it for him.
Shakespeare seems to have written no further plays after the Globe burnt down in 1613. Instead, he retired to his Stratford home in New Place. Unfortunately, the original house was demolished in 1759, but there are traces of the foundation in the garden. Sadly, on his birthday in 1616, he contracted a fever and died in his sleep. He was buried on the 25th of April here at Holy Trinity Church, Stratford. This memorial depicting the town's most famous citizen is affixed to the wall.
For once, I agree with the professor, insofar that Willie appears to have given up writing 3 years before his death.
But why? He was only 49. Could he have been disfigured by the fire at the Globe Theatre? Ben Jonson hinted as much.
There are many other questions that require an answer. Why didn't the citizens of Stratford realise they had a genius in their midst? They didn't link their man with the playwright until many years after his death. In this connection, the memorial in the church is an 18th century replacement. The original had a different face, and the hands rested on a sack, which was appropriate for a grain dealer. What with those two faces and these other different impressions, can anyone say with certainty what Willie really looked like? Could it be that he concealed his double life because the Stratford identity afforded him some safety from possible enemies incurred during his spying days? Remember, communications were poor. Did Willie die peacefully? Is there any significance in the fact that Raleigh, who had cause for revenge, came out of prison a few weeks before Willie kicked the bucket? Was he poisoned? Now, you've heard a bit about my book. Now go out and buy the bloody thing.